joining us to weigh in with some thoughts on how everything turned out and what lies ahead for these candidates. We've got our friend Eric Averbaum, who's the associate publisher for Social Media Mag. It's great to have you again here.
It's great to be here.
How's Kereakos Zuras, who's a business expert and former advisor to George W.Bush. Welcome. Great to have you, sir.
Good morning, Uma. It's a pleasure to be here.
Let me start with you. What was your take on the way these guys were going at each other, and particularly focusing on Rick Perry?
Well, you know, it's going to be a Perry and Romney battle, but I think Perry stood his ground. I think he came up ahead. He's still leading the polls by, I think, 12%. You know, he's on top right now, so he's going to be the person that everyone's going to attack. There's just something about Romney that just doesn't come across very well, and I think he's just not connecting as well as he could.
In what way?
You know,
in what way?
Well, he just seems too kind of out of touch. It's almost like he's, you know, I don't get a warm fuzzy feeling when he talks. There's something about him that just doesn't resonate very well. Perry, on the other hand, is a grassroots guy. He speaks in a language that everybody understands, and he's getting the appeal of a lot of people, and it's showing in the polls. He's the front runner by 12%, and I think he's going to maintain his lead.
Eric, do you think he was on the defensive though last night when it?
Yeah, I don't agree at all, which is my role here. You know, look, I hope that the Republican Party, sorry for everybody watching, beats each other up, which is what they did last night for a long time. Nobody will be left standing when it's time to run for president. I thought Romney, actually, body language-wise, looked very presidential to me, and I thought Perry came off as a little bit defensive. And you know what? I bet you in Romney's camp right now they're saying it's a good place to be in at number 2. Everyone isn't gunning for us right now. Everybody was going after Perry hard last night.
Boy, in a big way. How much traction do you think, Mr. Zuras, that you think that this is going to have with Michelle Bachmann bringing up this issue of the drug companies tied to Perry's decision to ask that all young girls get this vaccination in Texas, and the fact that they contributed money to his campaign? Is this going to have legs?
No, it's not going to have legs. This is ridiculous. $5,000. I mean, come on, let's get real. The guy is very wealthy. I mean, you know, $5,000.
But they're saying in some reports that it was more like $30,000. There's some discrepancy.
I mean, come on.
How much money that was actually given to his campaign from the company, from Merck?
Uma, all the candidates take money from a lot of contributors and donors. Okay, so I don't think this has legs. But look, let's think about this. I think his approach is well-intended to vaccinate young women against social disease, one that may lead to cancer. But let's look at the 32 federally mandated inoculations you've got to give a child, one of them being a hepatitis B vaccine, which you can only contract hepatitis B if, in most cases, if you're having sex with prostitutes, using dirty needles, doing drugs, whatever. I mean, you know, come on, we're picking.
But you do have to, you know, take a breath for just a moment on this one, saying, because you are talking about 12 and 13-year-old young girls, and it's a very sensitive issue, and not everybody's on board. And I know that parents could have opted out of not having their child inoculated, but. And
I agree, and I think his approach to make it mandated, you know, versus you know, passed was the problem. But I think the intent was good, and I don't think this is going to carry legs. I think, you know, everybody's taking cheap shots at one another right now. It happens every time there's a debate, and it's kind of sad. And I kind of agree with Newt on a lot of points where, you know what, let's focus on the issues and let's not beat each other up. But then at the end of the day, I think Michelle Bachmann is losing steam. This whole thing, to me, it's got no legs. It's not going anywhere.
What do you think, Eric?
I think that, you know, if you want to ask every candidate about where they're getting all their money from, they're all going to get tied back to different things that they vote for. I think $5,000 is insignificant. I think $30,000 is insignificant. That said, it's going to play in the press for a couple days, and, you know, different people will make sure that it does play in the press, so some people will care about it. You know, I think that what's more important is the issue itself, is how do you feel about that being mandated? Perry did, you know, he has softened and changed his position. Right. It's the only thing that he's softened and changed his position.
Yeah, he actually said he would do it differently.
Well, he said he would do it differently, and, you know, if you're in PR, which, you know, I've done my entire career, that's what you do if you want to put that fire out so it doesn't, you know, keep smoldering for a very long time.
Absolutely. Overall, though, do you think that, you know, the point that you brought up about Newt Gingrich, I mean, it's a valid point. The fact that we're already only into September of 2011, and we've got a long way to go yet before the first primary and caucuses begin, they continue to beat each other up like this. How do you think that's going to, the impact of that is going to have on voters down the road?
Well, you know, it's typical protocol. It happens every time there's an election. But here's what I'd say. Look, this is all a marketing campaign right now. Everybody's marketing. They're marketing for position. And this is to be expected. And I think the American people that are watching these debates understand that. But here's the thing. At the end of the day, they're going to remember the last thing they heard. So as we get closer to the end, that's when it's going to become significant. Right now, this is just a sort and sift, and people sorting and sifting the candidates that are going to remain in and the ones that are going to drop out. It's expected. It happens every single time, and I think people are used to it.
I know, but we've got a bigger field this time around, and I guess that a lot of people in the GOP are concerned that, if it looks as though everybody's beating up on each other too much, it may serve as more of a distraction as opposed to people focusing on the actual issues at hand in terms of listening and paying attention to the substantive parts of these debates, as opposed to looking for the people who are going to go after one another in a very, entertaining and/or direct way.
Yeah, and that's how it is. And again, we're in the very beginning, so we have a long way to go. And I think as we move forward and we move along, it's going to change, and it'll get more serious as people drop out. And last night, look, come on, CNN puts on this thing, and they play it off like it's some WWF match, and pay-per-view thing. And I mean, so it's it kind of has that tenor. I think people kind of get that in the beginning, and this is just creating a lot of debate and getting some answers and people to talk about certain things to get an idea of where people stand on things. And of course, the media, being typically left-sided, is going to play up on every little thing that they can. So it's just a matter of listening and not getting caught up in all the hype, and just listening for the messages that are really in there. And what are we really trying to accomplish? We're trying to accomplish this mathematical economic problem that we have, where we need to get America back on track, people back to work without spending us into more debt.
He's obviously, downplaying the impact of what happened last night. There's going to be more debates coming up, obviously, and there's going to be a lot happening between now and Election Day. But in and of itself, what do you think the impact's going to be with voters as they watch the fist fight going on?
I completely agree that it was like worldwide wrestling or something, and the lights and the Wolf Blitzer, the way he's running out, and the nicknames. I thought it was ridiculous. I forget what the stat is. I think it's something like 78% of the American public cannot remember who was the losing candidate in the last 10 elections for President of the United States. So they're probably not going to remember this debate either. But, that was some pretty hard debating. And the thing is about the media now, it's different than the media used to be. So
in what way?
Well, I don't think we can just say that the media, there's left bias. The media is wide open. We're all over the internet now. We're all over the blogosphere. Social media is big. I've talked about this repeatedly because I study what these guys do to apply it to business, and Obama does it incredible. Who did it really great last night was Perry. In the middle of that debate, Perry had things going out on social networks in the middle of the debate. That was pretty slick.
Very interesting. You want to jump in for a second?
Yeah, look, there's no doubt that social media is a very effective business tool. I use it with all of my clients as well. And I mean, if you're not on board with it, you're making a mistake. And President Obama is an excellent marketer. And again, this is all marketing, but I'm talking about media, like cable media and TV media. It is very, very slanted to the left. They get a lot more airtime. They get a lot more of their message out, barring social media. And, at the end of the day, people need to look at the issues and not get hyped up about all this messaging. Because, like I said before, they're going to remember the last thing they heard. This will be forgotten. Tomorrow's headlines will be completely different. 2 days from now, we won't even remember what we're talking about right now.
All right, let me shift the focus now to the jobs outlook. The fact that the president now says he's got his plan in place, and he is expecting the Congress to move forward on it. Let's go. What are your thoughts as to how this gets done, if at all, at this point?
This is my big word of caution to the White House is manage expectations. Don't throw out numbers that you can't meet up with, because that is what haunts this president now. He keeps setting expectations. He keeps setting a bar that he cannot meet. And I think that is one of the two biggest problems of his presidency.
Your thoughts on this?
He's got a little bit more than that as far as problems with his presidency. He's trying to socialize the United States. He's already spent $666 billion on jobs. His expectations are outlandish, and they're unrealistic because he just doesn't get it. Okay, he's got an agenda. Instead of working on creating jobs when he first got into the presidency, he pushed through the throats of Americans Obamacare, which I think needs to be repealed, because that's going to be the biggest debt burden on our economy moving forward. Secondly, he's already spent $666 billion. That didn't work. Now he wants to spend another $475+ billion. He's claiming he wants to create jobs and make small business, give them relief. Yeah, at the expense of raising taxes on Americans. Guys, the money's not free. We can't keep printing. Bernanke's answer to the problem is we can print more money. He needs to take a different approach. He needs to cut spending and do little things different and not have this Robin Hood mentality. Let's take from the people that make more so we can give more free money. What do you think the response
in Congress is going to be, though, in terms of...
They're going to kill this thing. It doesn't get...
But people are obviously understanding that the public is really getting very impatient. Those people who have been looking for a job for quite some time now without any results are desperate. And there are a lot of families out there that are really, really on the edge, and people who've just stopped looking altogether. So the fact is, Congress's approval rating is much lower than the president's at this point. The fact is they are going to get to work. They say they want to put something together, but what do you think realistically can get through at this point?
Nothing. This bill is dead on arrival. Dead on arrival. It's not going anywhere.
Eric?
I hate to agree with you, but this bill is going to have a real rough time going anywhere. I don't know, dead on arrival, but dead after the debate on arrival. But there will be a debate. I think it's going to be very hard to get anything through.
All right.
It's not so bad if we agree on a couple things. That might not be too bad.
There you go. Stand by for just a moment, because we're going to talk to my colleague Eric Shawn, who is going to give us an update on a special election that's taking place here in New York today. Political implications of this thing obviously are far-reaching as we head into the presidential contest. Thank you very much, Eric. Appreciate it. Great to see you as always.
All right, Uma.
So, gentlemen, this particular race is getting a lot of attention, obviously, because it is a race that's being closely monitored. And if a Republican does happen to take this seat, it will be very interesting. And a lot of people are going to make a lot of the fact that the Democrats could not hold on to this, and this is a referendum against Obama. What do you think?
I think also what's sort of interesting is that for politicians, it's a whole skill set and experience to run for office, which one of them has and Turner does not. If Turner wins, I think that would be a bit of a statement, although I think a lot's made of the statements and what it means and how the country's feeling, but I think it wouldn't be insignificant if Turner won.
What do you think, sir?
I think Turner's win is going to send a clear message that the American people are just tired of the same old from the president, from Obama's administration and the president. And this whole thing about the Tea Party, I think that's laughable. I mean, if it wasn't for the Tea Party, we wouldn't have had anything accomplished with the debt ceiling talks or the debt ceiling deal, even though it really wasn't a deal; it was more of a cut. But look, you can't spend more than you take in. We're spending $1.5 trillion more than we take in. So look, the Tea Party, like them or not, they're making economic sense, mathematically correct statements, okay? And if this guy's aligning with himself because he's a business person, he agrees with their values, I think it's great. It's not so bad to agree with some of the principles the Tea Party's putting forth. They're only trying to save the country economically so we can all get back to work and not be broke and owned by China forever.
There you go. All right, that'll have to be the last word, at least for this discussion at the moment. Kereakos Zuras, thank you so much for joining us from Washington today. We appreciate it.
Thank you. My pleasure, Emma. Thank you very much.
Great to have you on board today.